Have you ever met someone whose house is always effortlessly tidy and you're kind of annoyed at how easily it seems to come for them? But you're also wondering how? Well, I've been studying the psychology behind this difference, and as a mom of two who used to struggle with clutter and impulse buying, I found some really interesting things. And this is not a one way is right, one way is wrong. But there are some psychological shifts that happen that simply make it easier to keep a tidy home. I learned this procrastination cycle and the 3 steps in it from Dr. Julie Smith, a psychologist, in one of her reels. First of all, a lot of us are very driven and we want to achieve that goal that we have set for ourselves. Like for example, tidying our home or achieving a clutter-free home. So we really want that goal, but we often have a stronger fear of failure. And so we don't even get started. But the change happens when you know that even taking the smallest step forward means it's progress. And you also know that getting started is often the hardest step. Number 2 is when you think that all of this says something about you, and so putting it off is a bit of a self-protection mechanism. But your clutter is not you. The change that kind of makes it easier to keep a tidy home and just to change those habits that maybe you're not very happy with is when you learn that actually all of these things are not about your self-worth. Your self-worth is not tied to how tidy your home is, how much stuff is in your home, how many new clothes are in your wardrobe, your weight, or any other random things like these. And the third thing why we procrastinate is because we often put off that thing that we know we want to do and we know we need to do to achieve that goal of a clutter-free home. And the reason why we keep putting it off is because we're actually trying to avoid the feeling that comes with doing the tasks that we need to do, like anxiety or, stress over having to go through things that have piled up, or guilt, or even boredom, or feeling stressed about the whole situation. And so decluttering can sound really daunting because of that, but actually the only way to get past it is to go through it, and your home will change when you realize that the benefits that you get from decluttering will far outweigh the slight discomfort that you will have in the moment. And for me, this was also when I realized I kind of needed to make the whole tidying and decluttering process more of a low stakes situation and not put so much pressure on me to get it right and to always have the right answer. Like if I'm deciding on clothes, which one to keep, which one to let go, or kitchen items or toys or whatever it might be, just kind of taking some of that pressure off, because realistically, a lot of these decluttering decisions are not life and death decisions. They're not such a high stake thing, and most of the items that we declutter have very little value. Like it's not something that we have spent thousands of dollars on. For me, it's just kind of helped to realize that not all of these need to be such a high stakes decision. 2.5 days a year. From a 2017 Lost and Found survey, they found that the average person spends this long searching for misplaced items, and this is collectively costing US households about $2.7 billion a year in replacing the items that have been lost. And I know for a fact that when my home was more cluttered, I absolutely could not find a lot of items, whether it was my things or kids' things. And I did end up repurchasing a lot of items back then because I just couldn't find them and I needed them. And later on down the line, when I started decluttering, I actually did find them stashed in the back of cupboards, and it created a lot of waste. So when you start decluttering and tidying your home, you're not going to just make your life easier, which obviously it will, but you will also start saving a lot of money. The boiling frog concept is also something I learned from Dr. Julie Smith, and this is a concept in psychology where you see someone in a situation that's not good for them and you wonder, how did they get there and why aren't they trying to get out? So if you take a frog and you put it in a pot of hot boiling water, the frog will just jump straight out, right? But if you take that frog, put it in a pot of cold water, put that pot on the hob and gradually increase the temperature of the water, because the frog doesn't immediately feel the effect, it will stay in the water for much longer than necessary. And that's kind of similar to the clutter in our homes. because it's a gradual process, we sometimes don't even realize how quickly things add up. It's not like one day all of the clutter magically appears. It slowly starts creeping in. And people who love organizing their homes and love keeping it tidy know this, and that's why they declutter regularly. And this is something that took me a while to learn, but I actually do declutter regularly now, because just like the boiling frog, you kind of get a bit used to the stuff around you. And so, you put some things on the dining table and you think it's not a big deal, I'll tackle it another day. But then weeks go by and more things accumulate, or on your sideboards, or on your kitchen sides, or on the banister on the landing, and things just pile on. And that's how it happens that one day you just look at your house and you think, how did I accumulate so much clutter? Because it's slowly creeping in. It's not a sudden thing, and that's why it can take us by surprise. So the only way to kind of prevent this is by also slowly decluttering. So yes, things inevitably will come in, but we need to make sure we have a system to get things out as well. The tidy brain. It's been said that having a tidy space frees up your brain. There's been this research done by the Princeton Neuroscience Institute, and they found that when you have multiple objects around you in kind of your visual field, all of those items will kind of compete for your attention, and they will limit the brain's processing capacity. So when we have a cluttered environment, it just makes it harder to focus. And I have noticed this time and time again when I'm trying to work, but I see there's toys behind me, there's paperwork on the dining table, all of these things around me. Not only will they kind of distract me and maybe I start doing something else instead of doing the work I was supposed to do, but also it just stimulates your brain in a way that maybe you don't want to when you're trying to focus on a specific task. So when you have an uncluttered environment, an organized one, what this does to your brain is that it will make you less irritable, more productive, it will make you less distracted, and you'll just be able to process that information much better. And in this article by Erin Doland, it says that clutter competes for your attention in the same way a toddler might just stand next to you and repeat candy, candy, candy. Or when they sit next to you and they're like, mom, mom, mom. So it's just something that will simply drain your mental resources, and it will add to your mental load, even though it's just in the background, like it's not something you're actively doing. But just having all the clutter in the visual field will actually affect your brain even without sometimes realizing. There was also this survey done by UCLA where they tracked 32 dual income families, and it's been shown that clutter raises cortisol, the stress hormones, especially in mothers. So those who had a higher number of possessions showed elevated stress hormone levels, and that's why I think the more products and items we have in our homes, the more stress we're going to feel. And I see this often. I think us women or moms are just more affected by the clutter, where we notice it more. Maybe it's the fact that sometimes we're the ones in charge of it, like taking care of it. In our household, my husband and I do split chores, and he does a lot, so I'm very grateful for that. But I know it can affect us mothers a lot more than it affects them sometimes. And so getting rid of that clutter will do so much for your brain. And these days, I think we've gotten so used to the whole restock trend and just overbuying things in general that we tend to accumulate so many things that we don't really need to have in our homes. Because you and I are not a warehouse storage. We do not need to stockpile cleaning supplies and makeup products and skincare products and all of these items that we generally find in a drugstore. That's why they have warehouses. We do not need to keep that in our bathroom cabinets or in our drawers, because at the end of the day, as mothers especially, we have such limited time to dedicate to all of these products, and the more items we have in our home, the more time we will need to dedicate to them, to tidy them and manage them and clean them and store them and all of these tasks that we need to do. And so keeping less just makes your whole load a lot easier. I also found this publication from 2013 in Psychological Science, which I found really interesting, about how the fact that order kind of nudges you towards better life choices. So they discovered two things which I thought were really interesting. So one was that people who lived in an orderly room actually had this tendency to make better choices when when it came to food, like picking healthy snacks over unhealthy snacks, and even being more likely to donate money versus people who lived in a disorderly room. But also, that same research found that actually the people who were in the messier room were more creative. So I loved this nuance because I do find that kind of pattern in myself too. I love a tidy home, and I think I'm pretty tidy now. I like to keep a tidy space, not meaning it's perfectly tidy all the time, but just kind of in general, keeping a tidy space around me and trying to stay on top of it. But when I do something creative, I definitely get messier. You can see a tidy background behind me because that's where I'm filming, but you should see in front of me, I have camera equipment, laptop, things out, cables, lights. When I'm filming a outfit video, I get a lot of clothes out and I make a mess that way. But I think it's all about that balance. Like, your home doesn't need to look like a magazine all the time. It's meant to be lived in. But I think having a tidy space around you for a majority of the time means that your brain will be more able to kind of focus on making better decisions for yourself. And so it's not just about having a tidy home for looking Pinterest perfect. It's about having a tidy home so that you can free up mental space for the things that you actually want to do, for the things that actually better your life, like working out or eating healthier or going to exercise or going on a walk or picking up hobbies that actually make you feel good. Tidying as a personality trait. Apparently, there's this ocean score of personality traits, and one of them is I cannot say this. I cannot pronounce this. Let me Google it up. And one of them is conscientiousness. I've been practicing pronouncing that and I don't think it's coming out right. And this is making a difference between being efficient and organized versus more easygoing and careless. So it's kind of this type A versus type B kind of personality where one is more likely to, be super self-disciplined, so more planned rather than the more spontaneous side. And so in these articles I've been reading, it actually says that tidiness can be part of our wiring, but I also think it's a skill and a habit that you can improve on. So yes, type A might find it easier than type B, or type B might just not be as bothered by having a lot of stuff out compared to type A, but I don't think that means one is right and one is wrong. And I feel like throughout my life I've gone through different phases where I've kind of yo-yoed between these two. I'm definitely more type A right now, but I don't feel like I was always like this. I remember being a teenager with lots of clothes thrown on my floor, on a chair robe. I know my mom used to get frustrated at the clothes on my chair. Maybe that's just the teenage phase, but I'm definitely more type A now. So I do think you can improve your habits at any point in your life. For example, my husband is the most reliable person I've ever met. So he's very much like, if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do exactly that when he said he's going to do it. He's very disciplined, and I always appreciated that about him. Like, he was always on time. He would always, like, if he said he was gonna do me a favor or do something, he would always do it. He is always so reliable. I think I was a bit less so when I met him. And we met in high school, by the way, so it was a long time ago. But because throughout the years, I just loved that so much about him, I kind of started adopting it too. So I think that's interesting, but let me know what you think. Do you think tidiness is something you're kind of wired, like a type A, that's just how you're born? Or do you think it's something that you can improve in time, like just like any other skill? It's also been said that cleaner homes lead to more active bodies. An Indiana University study done on 998 adults aged between 49 and 65 found that actually the state of the cleanliness of their home was one of the strongest predictors of physical activity, of how active they were, how often they went on walks. So I thought that was really interesting because it's not the kind of thing you would normally tie together, like how active you are versus how tidy your home is. But now that I think about it, after I massively decluttered my home, I kind of felt like I had more mental space to tackle other things, like giving more to my business and kind of growing my business here, and also starting working out. I started about a year ago lifting weights and kind of strength training. And yeah, I don't know if it was related or not, but I just found that very interesting. And also the 19% rule. So there was this sleep study performed by the National Sleep Foundation, and they found that people who make their beds every morning are 19% more likely to report a good night's sleep. Now, I'm gonna go on a limb and say that these people probably don't have newborn babies, because I could have done my bed every morning, I still wouldn't have had a good night's sleep. But Let's say you're out of the newborn baby toddler phase. Maybe it's the fact that at the end of the day, when you go to bed and you have a nice fresh bed to get into, maybe it's a better state, maybe it's easier to relax, because probably if you make your bed every morning is also the kind of person who would keep a tidy floor, like the bedroom wouldn't be covered in clothes all the time, or clear the bedside tables. And so all of these tasks of keeping a tidy bedroom will definitely improve sleep. And I have read actually a lot of studies and articles that show that sleeping in a cluttered space actually disrupts your sleep. It can make you have a harder time going to sleep and a harder time staying asleep, having more restless nights. It's just crazy to me, the more I read about this, how much clutter can actually impact so many areas of our lives. And so if you've been meaning to tackle your clutter but you're not sure where to start, I do have a free decluttering checklist I made for you, so that's linked down below. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you in the next video. Coffee's on me.